Hi, I'm Bozo and I'm a Kiri main and Overwatch coach. Let's talk about how to play Kiri with other supports in ranked, specifically Kiri and Juno. The main idea is, Juno heals and speeds tank, while Kiri enables DPS on an angle. This backline functions sort of like Ana Kiri in that it is greedy and fragile, and usually will be split from one another. But compared to Ana Kiri, this comp demands you both be even more proactive and attentive as it's even squishier. In general, this comp has medium heals and medium damage, util and speeding tanks with Juno, and good ability to take and hold space on angles by DPS with Kiri. With Juno Kiri, you get a lot of value by having speed for your tank and a support on your off-angling DPS, both at once. With a hero like Lucio, you could have one or the other, but not both at once. The pros of Kiri Juno are, you get speed. Speed is good. Speed allows you to choose when to engage and disengage, and allows you to move from cover to cover quickly while taking less damage. As for ults, both Rush and Orbit are good ults for starting a fight, going first, and taking space, but especially Kitsune. Orbit can be used to start fights, but is often used a little later in the fight and is really good for holding space. Depending on how your team wants to play each fight, going first or going second, taking space or holding space, you have some flexibility on which support ult to use. The cons of Kiri Juno are poor burst heals. Torpedoes are slow, and Suzu is too valuable to use as burst heal. Juno is also not as often a reliable or safe TP target as Ana. And Kiri Juno is a fragile backline. Juno cannot heal herself, so if she, her Kiri, or her team is not attentive enough to help her, she is very free for enemy flankers. The only way Juno can buy herself time is with her limited mobility, which, depending on the map and enemy mobility and range, can be more or less effective, or pretty much useless, in stalling until she can regen or get help. So how do we play Juno and Kiri? First, positioning. Juno likes to play a little closer to tank physically, and Kiri can be, as always, on an off angle. Comparing Kiri Juno and Kiri Lucio, in Kiri Lucio, Kiri plays with the tank or on a slight off angle with longer range DPS, like Soj, while Lucio plays with shorter range flanking DPS, which in team play would be your flex DPS, your Genji, or your Tracer. While in Kiri Juno, the Kiri sort of takes the Lucio's job of going on an off angle, but Kiri is not as good at going in with a Tracer or a Genji, she just can't keep up. Kiri would prefer a mid-range off angle, either to support the dive hero from there, or to hold with a less mobile, slightly longer range DPS. Right now this would usually be a Soj, but could potentially also be something like a Soldier or Ashe. While Juno does technically have higher mobility uptime, it is not good enough for completely disengaging safely, so she is too squishy to go on aggressive angles like Kiri does. To compare the three, Lucio has high constant uptime on his speed with good wall ride mechanics. Kiri's mobility is mostly cooldown based, and though it's got less uptime, it's a free guaranteed disengage. Juno's mobility is in a weird spot in the middle. She's got less uptime than Lucio, as her mobility is still cooldown based, and she's slower and more limited in movement than Lucio. And it's not a safe guaranteed disengage like Kiri TP. This weird middle ground makes her far too squishy to hold space alone well, so she really is not suited to take angles and prefers to play around her team's core. Next, healing responsibilities. Pretty simple, Juno looks more at tank, not just for heals but also for speed, and Kiri tends to be suited better for supporting and enabling DPS. Let's look at their ults next. Of course, as with any support ults, you should generally be alternating between the two ultimates each fight. Usually Orbit builds faster than Kitsune if you have Juno on tank and Kiri on DPS, so you can more often than not use Orbit for first ult fight. But if you both have ult around the same time, consider which one to use first. With an enemy Ana, both of you should be looking for nade and calling it out. If Ana nades early fight, call it so Juno can Orbit soon after. Just more generally, any risk of anti during Orbit without guaranteed cleanse from Kiri is a bad Orbit. In terms of tankiness, Orbit is a tanky ult. It is much harder to die in Orbit than in Kitsune. Kitsune, on the other hand, is a lot easier to die in. You still want to mind cover when placing or playing in Kitsune. When to mirror ults. Ideally, you want to kite enemy ults when it is an option, of course. But if you are forced to fight, if enemy Juno orbits, you usually do not want a Kitsune, just match Orbit. And similarly, if enemy Kiri Kitsunes, you generally do not want to match Kitsune, just Orbit instead. Basically, for your own Kitsune, you really just want to kite enemy ults and re-engage with Kit whenever possible. In general, Orbit is usually a better defensive ult option than Kitsune. You can Orbit for really any ult that isn't zoning, anti-heal, or one-shot. Zoning ults would be Ball Mines and Torb ult, and to a lesser extent, Ram ult, Venture ult, and Hog ult. Anti-heal includes Queen ult and Ana nade, and one-shots include Cast Tire, Orisa ult, and Junk Tire. Next, how can you help each other? As Juno, you can help your Kiri by telling your Kiri when your tank needs a double pocket. Neither of you have great burst heal options, so you have to be proactive with who you are supporting. If your Kiri's default is to play on her DPS and it's starting to look like you cannot keep up someone alone, tell your Kiri that sooner rather than later so she can reposition and or help. When it comes to your util, do not speed your Kiri, there's almost never a reason to. Now as Kiri, here's how you can help your Juno. If your Juno is in danger or people are looking at her, you need to watch her like a hawk. Remember, she only has 225 HP. When you're not physically with her, you need to constantly keep her in the back of your mind. As opposed to less mobile supports, she can move around a lot, so keep yourself updated on her position regularly by turning around and looking through walls, or stay attentive to her sound cues. But if your Juno is relatively safe and you are confident no one is looking at her, you might not need to care her. She heals back to full pretty fast with support passive and shields. That's all I've got for now on Juno and Kiri. What other ranked support comps of Kiri are you guys curious about? Let me know. And as always, love you Kiri mains.